Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. It is Tuesday, the 21st of October. Thank you so much for joining me. We have a special severe weather video out today, if you haven't already seen it, covering New Zealand's severe weather risks over the next couple of days or 2 or 3 days ahead. So watch that for more detail. But here is the bigger picture as we go into Labour weekend and your Labour weekend forecast. And we kick off with some thunderstorms today, moving along the west coast of the South Island. A few of those brushing Southland, Stewart Island and Fovo Strait this morning. Polar air, you can see it with the speckled cloud, sort of heavy squally showers to the south. We've got thicker cloud in the central part of the country. That's where it is windiest today, sort of in the upper half of the South Island, lower half of the North Island. And drier skies, warmer weather, lighter winds, although still a bit blustery, but lighter winds the further north you go because there is high pressure north of New Zealand, low pressure south of us. Also, we've got some thunderstorms and lower pressure in the tropics. And check out the low coming into South Australia. A significant thunderstorm outbreak for them today. It'll be bringing much needed rain. So here is the air pressure map. We've got high pressure north of New Zealand, low pressure south of us, and you know what that means. We're smack bang in the squash zone. So windy west to northwest winds. Westerly winds are kicking into the South Island more so today, although there'll still be nor'west in some of the eastern areas. Going to the North Island and the high pressure zone dragging down subtropical or warm nor'west winds. So it's another warm to hot day in some parts of the North Island with that windy weather this evening, perhaps showing some signs of easing back a bit. Now, it's still windy on Wednesday, but it's a warm, windy Wednesday. High pressure north of New Zealand pulling down that subtropical airflow and bringing it in as a windier west to northwesterly. So it's going to be a pretty warm day on Wednesday. Similar story in the South Island. In fact, the tropical boundary in Australia pushing out of New South Wales shows that that is a pretty warm airflow. So if you live in Southland and you've been having that annoying polar line over the top of you for so long, you do have a couple of days that are warmer as a result of this windy setup. We've got some wet weather on the western side, a couple of showers in the north, but not very much. Most places, most of the main centres are looking fairly dry. But on Thursday, things change. We've got a storm southeast of the country. Very low air pressure down here with this system. You can see all the strong winds. So damaging winds, top half of the South Island, lower half of the North Island, but you could still see damaging gusts really in any part of the country as we go through Thursday. We're still not 100% sure about the exact placement of the centre. It seems to be roughly in this area, but a 100-kilometre distance movement of that low between now and Thursday could still change some things. And yes, that is the polar boundary getting ready to come back in again. So Thursday kicks off warm. It stays warm for the North Island, in fact hot. Some places could be getting closer to 30 degrees. Again, check out our severe weather video. It has more details about that. And as we go to Friday, colder in the lower third of the South Island as the polar boundary comes back in again. But high pressure in the Tasman Sea means that the winds do ease back, showers clear away, it's dry for most places, fairly mild as well as we go into the long weekend. So Saturday, a lot of low pressure south of New Zealand. 969 over here, 948 over here. The highs to our north aren't very powerful, but they're just enough to put a bit of a ceiling on how far those lows can go up the country. So while we do have a bit of a southwest wind blowing around on Saturday, it's a little brisk in exposed areas. It's not as windy as it's been, and the showers are mostly on the western side, long dry spells around the North Island. But I'm sorry to say Southland, not really the place to be on Saturday with the wintry weather. Look at this, Antarctica's down here. So this is all coming up from Antarctica and brushing the lower part of the South Island. Here is a closer view though of that map for 1 o'clock Saturday. Showers or rain moving up the west coast, mostly dry in the North Island, although this line of showers likely to move in at some point, and dry again for eastern areas around the country. The drying out phase carries on, which is going to become a bit of an issue for some farmers and growers over the next few weeks unless we get some rain coming through. It's already getting drier than average in a few areas, so this weather is not going to help with that. As we go to Sunday, high pressure just north of us. It's not very strong, but it's just enough to keep most of the wet weather away from the North Island. But rain returns to the South Island's west coast. It is dry in most other places. Still a bit cold in Southland, especially coastal Southland and around Fiordland. Otherwise, temperatures actually aren't too bad. You've got a subtropical airflow or an Australian New South Wales airflow coming through. So really, Sunday doesn't look too cold for most places. But we do have a surge of windy weather coming through as we go into the start of next week. Coming out of the Tasman Sea pretty much at the end of Sunday. So this is 1 a.m. Monday morning. A surge of strong winds comes back through. And again, these could be Power outage material, especially in central New Zealand around Cook Strait, the lower North Island and the upper South Island. Gusts could be over 120 kilometres an hour or more on the hilltops as that all comes through. There is some good news in that the worst of the winds may not linger too long, but it's still not totally locked in because it is a messy kind of low pressure zone down here to the south. But what we are seeing is very heavy rain returning to the west coast. Very likely to be rain warnings issued for that one on Labour Day or going into Labour Day. Strong winds, could be damaging winds from sort of Canterbury up into parts of the North Island. It just sort of depends on the exact way the isobars all squeeze up once we get closer to that time. And you've also got probably a dry morning to begin with, at least for many parts of the North Island. As we go through Monday, you'll get those showers moving through. Some might spill over to the east, as you see down here as well. Otherwise, it's fairly dry for those eastern areas. And then 7 days from now, the next polar airflow moves back up the South Island. Still warm subtropical northwesterlies for the North Island. Dry in the east, showers or kind of patchy rain around the top of the country. And way out over here near Australia, that is the next high pressure zone that is trying its best to move our way. So there are a few things going on for the long weekend, and if you're coming home on the Tuesday, it's still a bit unsettled. But hopefully within all of that, you will still get some good weather to kind of balance things out. Here is the 7-day rainfall map. We'll start with the significant area of rain here on the west coast, mostly the southern half, and you're talking about 400 millimetres or more falling in just the next 7 days. So that is a lot of rain even for west coast standards. And unfortunately for Southland, who's had a very cold, windy, wet spring, not a great deal of change coming your way. You could still be seeing 60 to 80 millimetres of rain falling around some parts of Southland. But if you're on the eastern side, the areas in the pink, purple shading sort of showing very low rainfall, 0 to 10 millimetres. I said this in our severe weather video today, that even though those rainfall numbers are quite low, especially here around the South Island where there's this heavy west coast rain, you may still get water coming down through the rivers. So there could be rivers rising even if it's not raining where you are. So just keep that in mind with all that heavy west coast rain and some of it spilling over. Not as much for the North Island to do that, unfortunately, and Hawke's Bay does not look like it's going to be getting the rain relief that it needs. Before I go, got something just to support here for Movember, the Speak Easy Gala. This is on the 31st of October. It is in Auckland. If you're interested in this, please do support it. You can find the QR code here and more information up here, but it's a very worthy cause for Movember. That is all from me for today. Thank you so much for joining me. As I say before, we've got our severe weather video out for today as well, covering the next couple of days, plus our Australia only update as well. Otherwise, I'll see you again tomorrow.